You tell them I'm coming, and hell's coming with me, you hear? Hell's coming with me!
Well. Looks like the NCAA's old corruptive head has once again shown its ugly self in the fact that they're just inconsistent in how they do things, and they talk out of both sides of their mouth, and the hypocrisy that runneth amok is just all over the place. It's all over them. Someone get them a napkin and let them clean themselves up and wipe the hypocrisy from their face. Because once again, they have shown themselves to be very corruptible, and maybe even a little nepotism in that corruption. Let's talk about it. Here we go, riding in. Once again, it's the Outlaw Posse now in effect. And today's Four Horsemen shout-outs go to Bart Weisenhunt, Big Cajones Kelly, Killer Breeze, and Austin Stokes are mounted up and saddled and ready to go. And they're going to help us with today's college football invasion. And if you ever have any ideas for the show, or maybe possibly want to be a guest on the show, I can be reached at OCF Productions on Twitter, aka X. Just hit me up in DMs and we'll talk about it. Now, if you want to get your badge and get deputized and get a random Four Horsemen shout out like they just did, it's just $2.99 a month, 75 cents a week. That's just a half a bottle of water for the Outlaw, and you'll get your badge, and you will be deputized, and maybe even be the comment of the day. Now, getting right to it here, looks like the NCAA has once again, I don't think they really care that people know that they're corrupt. They're just like politicians today. The politicians act like they don't realize that the curtain's being pulled back on the Wizard of Oz, that everybody sees the short little man up there that's not really the wizard. But the curtain's being pulled back on the NCAA and all these politicians, but they just don't care because, honestly, it's like nothing ever happens to them for doing stuff that's blatantly and obviously corrupt. And with this West Virginia situation and even Indiana to some degree, both those teams were pretty much screwed by the NCAA this past week with a bunch of hubbubloo. After the committee, after the show, they interviewed the committee. The lead of the committee, ironically, was the AD of North Carolina, the team that was considered the biggest name that was on the bubble that was probably going to get left out. But they didn't. And they preached, and like I said in the lead-up, they preach about their quad one wins, and they talk about how they got this great system that's so much better than college football. But it ain't. Because, yeah, it's a great system that you got in place if you follow it, which they did not. West Virginia had numerous quad one wins compared to, let me get my little notes here, old school style. West Virginia had 6 quad one wins in comparison to North Carolina, San Diego State, and Xavier, who had 5 combined quad one wins between all 3 of them. North Carolina only had 1. So y'all preach this, and then y'all don't follow through on it, which makes me think that maybe football and basketball, the 2 biggest money-making sports, where there's too much money on the line to have these athletic directors from these other institutions making decisions who obviously have a biased outlook on how things should shake out. They need to go back to the BCS. They need to use the BCS formula for football because it got it mostly right. We only had 2 teams to pick from, so you had a bunch of people complaining and whining about it. If the BCS had 4, 8, 16 teams to choose from in football, it did a hell of a great job and a much better job in not being corrupted like these committees are. Even basketball, they need to use the BCS formula. The human element is too corruptible. And I'm gonna bring up a clip right now of Pat McAfee on the Don Dukovich show. I think I said his name right. And he basically explained some of it, and I'll get into a bit more of it after we listen to this clip.
A friend of the show, the great Pat McAfee. I love Pat. He's pissed at his West Virginia Mountaineers. We're left out of the NCAA tournament. It's safe to say Pat ain't wrong to be mad because WVU got himself hosed. They did. They got himself hosed. Big time. I'll let Pat explain. Here he is.
Most people were saying West Virginia got screwed. West Virginia, the Mountaineers. Now, listen, has it been the highest of highs for the Mountaineers over the last 5-10 years in sports? Our rifle team just won another national championship.
Boom.
How you doing? Keep it moving. Our gymnastics team, I believe, was the top 40 program on earth. There's other sports that are obviously soccer team dominating both men's and women's. So you talk about sports at West Virginia, there's been a lot of success. But at the men's basketball, men's football, there hasn't been, the national moment for a while. And I think that was held against us. Coach DeVries, now there's a lot of future conversation about him maybe leaving West Virginia, which sucks completely because he and his son, came into West Virginia in the city, in the state, in the university. Really love these two. They're saying he's going to leave. I'm hoping he doesn't. I'm hoping that he has a little bit of an axe to grind because how this season ended. But they held against us that his son, his boy, got hurt. His boy got hurt whenever Rich Rod's introductory press conference happened. That was 2 months ago, 3 months ago. Yeah. And they used that against him for going into the tournament. Now, with that being said, in football, obviously, Florida State was on like their fourth string quarterback, third string quarterback. That all happened like the last games of the year, like boom, bang, pow. Everything happened. This has been like a long time. This kid hasn't been playing. And in 111 of these so-called bracketologist specials people, you get it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
West Virginia was in the tournament. Now, wouldn't have been a high seeding, obviously. We should have played a lot better throughout the season and, certainly had a little bit of a get back, a setback. And we didn't do well in the Big 12 tournament either, lost very early. But in 111 of these so-called experts brackets, we were in. West Virginia was in. First time ever a team has been in all 111 bracketologist brackets and didn't make the tournament. So, obviously, they're holding something against West Virginia. That is just another chip on the shoulder. Obviously, it's bullshit. We don't love it. We don't like it. Play better. You're in, definitely. But nonetheless, West Virginia will be back, okay?
There's a lot there, including West Virginia being snubbed. Look, Pat's not wrong. You cannot say that a player, his best player being out since December, had an impact when your resume already says you're in the tournament. I mean, I get it if it happened a day before, a week before, in maybe the Big 12 tournament. I get it. But the truth of the matter is the best player, the coach's son, got hurt in December. He didn't even play in the Big 12.
So you heard all that. And like I said, like he said, the Alabama-Florida State situation, they try to compare it to. So, look, we've done it in football like that. Yeah, but that was the week before the ACC title game. That was a week before they had to decide who was going to the playoffs. And it was also obvious, and I'm not just saying it because I'm an Alabama guy, it was pretty obvious that Alabama was the better selection and the better team overall than Florida State, even though they went undefeated in a very weak ACC league that year. But how are you going to go back 2 months and hold it against West Virginia? West Virginia already proved that they could win without the guy. They went into the Big 12 conference play, the entire Big 12 conference play. I think it was 16, 18 games. And then the Big 12 tournament, of course, they stumbled against Colorado. And that probably is what really led to their ultimate undoing. It gave them an out. It gave the NCAA committee an out to get North Carolina in there, to get those eyeballs and get that traditional brand of basketball in there. But nevertheless, for the North Carolina athletic director was disgusting to me. It's like these people think we're completely and utterly stupid and we can't see through their bullshit. They're going to get on there and talk about they didn't put West Virginia in because a player that didn't play 2 months ago. That's pretty reaching. It's pretty disgusting. Considering you're the athletic director of North Carolina, the exact team that got in last and wasn't supposed to get in according to y'all's criteria. So now, NCAA, you got a big old mess. West Virginia's governor has now came out and said they're looking into suing the NCAA. And now West Virginia has lost its head coach. And we can't really prove whether this affected him or not in his decision-making process, but it sure as hell didn't help matters that West Virginia was left out of the tournament for the first time out of 111 brackets, pre-brackets that predict these things. They were in every 111 brackets. you can't tell me they didn't have a little bit to play in the mind of the head coach, DeVries, at West Virginia. So now you got a big old mess, NCAA, and I hope it comes back to haunt you. Normally these lawsuits don't really go anywhere, but I hope it gives y'all a little bit of a headache and a little bit of a pause to think to yourself, maybe, just maybe, we shouldn't do this next time. Because you cost West Virginia a lot. Exposure for the university, the money, now their head coach. They could actually say you cost them their head coach. But really, what really got my goat is the obvious bullshit that they feed us all the time about, well, if someone is directly connected to the university or team that we're discussing, we recuse ourselves. You think we really believe that line of crap? Come on, man. Y'all stop being that way. Y'all stop being so damn transparently stupid and corrupt. That is the most corrupt, dumbest thing you can say. You mean to tell me that maybe, the North Carolina athletic director and some of their people and the higher-ups maybe got together with one of those teams like Xavier and San Diego State and North Carolina? They didn't maybe get together and do a little wink thing. So, look, man, I'm going to have to recuse myself. But if you don't mind, when you go in there, put North Carolina in. Put a good word in for North Carolina, would you? And maybe we'll help San Diego State and Xavier out. Maybe we'll help your team out. You mean you tell me none of that shit took place? You expect us to believe that the head of the committee, who is the athletic director at probably one of the biggest blue blood names in college basketball, didn't have a little influence in that stuff happening? I mean, that complete and utter big bowl of dung that you just throwed on everybody, all the college basketball fans out there. You expect us to believe that? And that's why I go back to what I was saying earlier. They're going to have to do something different. In football and basketball, there's too much money to be made, too much corruption to be had and to percolate. They're going to have to go to some other formula. And my suggestion is go back to the BCS. Are you going to keep having these corruptible, disgusting, I can't think of another word to describe the guy. The guy is so disgusting to me. Just the look on his face. I mean, the look on his face just disgusted me. It made me want to have a bowel movement. That's all I got to say about that. Like, share, comment, and subscribe to this channel if you don't mind. Also, there's a little heart option down here at the bottom of the money dollar sign in the middle. If you want to smash that and give a one-time donations program, you can smash that. Throw a few dollars in the coffers. Or you can do like those guys earlier who have their random four horseman shout out. You can get your badge and get deputized and be in the outlaw posse for just $2.99 a month, 75 cents a week. That's just a half a bottle of water for the outlaw. And you'll get that badge, you'll get deputized, get the random four horseman shout out, as I just said, as well as possibly the comment of the day. KMCA to all the other teams. Class is now officially dismissed.